Yo guys, what is up? It's your boy JadeJonny back with another video. We're over here on Eagle the Ducks channel doing the next episode of the Still the Spirits podcast. It was really hard to get many members involved of the Still the Spirits podcast into a video. So today we're going to be interviewing Jai, the creator of the ELO system and the Elestrals Team Tournament. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Jai.
Hi, I'm JyGein. I just like playing Elestrals and I just have fun running the community and not running the community, just like being part of it. And it's just,
Running
I
sections
just
of it.
found yeah, I just found it fun to run the tournament and the rank system.
Okay.
So I am.
All right, and then I'm gonna give everything over to Eagle the Duck now since this is his channel.
All
So
right. Thank you, Johnny. Happy to finally be here. We've been waiting on this for about 2 weeks now, making the
it has
plans and
been a
such. Some of you might have
yes.
seen the teasers about it. But thank you, Jai, for joining us today for a fun interview. I think it'll be great to get your input here on what you've been helping out with the community. But where Johnny and I wanted to start this is with you kind of giving a background about how you got into the community, found out about Elestrals and all that.
It was just it was just A Drive. They posted the video of like introducing Elestrals, and then I found the Elestrals channel, like the official one, and I just had a lot of fun watching the gameplay. So
Okay.
I joined the Discord server, and then I found out, hey, I can actually play it through tabletop, and it
Yes.
just got snowballing from there.
Yeah, I know a lot of people found out through table that we could start playing through Tabletop Simulator. I've actually been using Tabletop Simulator for a while now because of one of the other games I play. So it was funny to see everyone be like, "Wait, we can do this." So, but glad you were able to kind of join in on that as well. And I had a question, but left my mind for a second there. Um, so, do you remember exactly when you just joined the Discord server? Was it pretty much right away?
Um, like, what do you mean by right away? Right
I
after what?
Because if I'm not
Like how
mistaken,
early into the
yeah, because I'm pretty sure when they dropped the rule video, they also dropped the Discord server.
yeah, on the 31st.
Yeah. So did you join in right
Um,
away, or did you find it like a few days after?
it was probably like a week after
Okay.
of
So
just like watching the gameplay videos, and I'm just like, okay, might as well just join the server.
okay. Yeah, I was kind of
I
in the
think I
same boat.
actually watched the TTS Words video of like how to play in TTS before I joined the server.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember early on, and I actually have videos on my channel where you and I were playing against each other like 2 weeks in a row. So I knew you had been on the server at least for a bit from there, but it sounds like we actually joined around the same time. Okay. Uh, Johnny, I think we're ready to kind of get into more of the content that Jai's been working on herself. So do you want to take the reins for a bit?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that we were curious about was your elo system because I mean that's kind of like an out of the blue like concept. Nobody really mentioned to bring it up before. I mean, like obviously there was talk about me being the best player in the server, but we never really had a definitive way to like prove it or show it. And you kind of made a way for us to do that. How'd you like come to that idea? Like,
Well, it was actually Ignited who suggested that, and I kind of ran away with it, and Ignited had to like catch up and be like, can I be a part of this since it was my idea? And I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, because it's his idea. It's pretty much his system. I just like made the ELO part, but he like runs it and just tells me what to do and stuff. And
So he's the one with the idea. You're the one who is helping him execute it, pretty much.
yeah,
Okay, that's pretty cool.
yeah. So are you yourself also going to be working on getting some elo, or like is it just for us?
I mean, I did sign myself up, so yeah. I just haven't played that much recently,
Yeah,
so
understandable.
probably
If
will.
with everything you're doing, I mean, like, are there any other secret projects you're working on that you want to tell us about, or is it just the official tour and
No,
the elo?
it's just the tour and the ELO. I don't have anything else.
I'm sure that's taking up a lot of your time, especially with everyone now reporting matches to you.
Yeah. Oh, I still have one to put in. I forgot. Okay.
Sounds like you're really busy lately.
Yeah, no wonder you can't um, get in games as well if you're so busy just trying to update everything.
Yeah.
All right, so the team tournament, a lot of people were like really surprised at the bracket system you decided to go with. I mean, like it has us playing against every single team twice. Uh, is there a reason you wanted to do that? Is it like to mitigate any randomness? Is it to like show like just kind of differentiate like the player matchups and stuff like that, or is there like some other
It
reason?
it was because playing against each other team once and like the team style was like too little because it would just mean that your team would play 4 times, which means each player would play 1 to 2 times in the round robin, which isn't a lot at all. So even though you're playing each team twice and it's if you look at challenge, it's 10 rounds, it probably won't take that long because each round is only 2 matches.
True.
So I figured it's perfectly fine, and it was just to let each player play more, and also for each deck to play more. Because I also wanted to like get like info from each deck
Mm.
to see which decks were best, and you can't really do that if each deck is only playing 4 times.
Yeah, you really
I
want a
mean,
good sample size there.
yeah.
Is
So
there
when you
anything?
say we when you
Okay.
say which deck is best, like what kind of like things are you trying to glean from it? Like which cards like highlight the deck better, or like
I mean,
what
I'm
kind of thing?
just gathering the win rate of the deck. I mean, I guess I should probably be gathering like what deck it beat, but
For
it's
matchups as
just to
well.
kind of show like what cards are good against other cards. So maybe we can get like a general image from this, and then
Start building like a general consensus of what a meta is.
mhm.
It would be very interesting for this Protect deck format, especially since it won't last too much longer before we will start. Once we get into Kickstarter, I imagine we'll start getting more official information about how cards might change, what new cards will come out.
Oh yeah, that's gonna all be coming like late October, early November,
Yeah. So this
and
will
it's
kind
gonna
of
be
be
like a. I
okay.
can already tell you with the utmost certainty, it's gonna be like a massive wave too. Like Dan's talked to a couple people about it, and it's like it is. This meta is gonna be completely different whenever we get it.
I think that's pretty good with such a limited card pool. This meta does feel like it's stagnating. I feel like after this tournament, every subsequent tournament will kind of be more solved to some extent. So I think
Yeah,
it's good for the health of the game.
yeah.
I'm sure Johnny and I will also have a lot of good breakdown videos of this tournament once it's all over, because I know you and I have already been discussing about how certain matchups feel and how decks feel against each other, which is exactly what you're talking about, Jai, just seeing how different decks compare to each other. Or I think no, it was you, Johnny, that mentioned that. You both might
No,
have
no, that
said
was
that.
Jai. That
That
was
was
Jai.
Jai,
That was
okay.
Jai.
Sorry, I missed what you said. What happened?
I was saying how you're good. I was saying the how different decks face up against each other, or the strengths and weaknesses on why. I know Johnny and I have already been discussing that, so we'll definitely be discussing that after the tour's over in our videos.
When he says Johnny and I, he is like the one that does all the in-depth stuff like that. I That's not me. He's like, oh, this is what I think, and I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought about it like that. That's like basically, yeah, yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, but you have the experience to confirm that viewpoint of mine.
Oh
Is
yeah,
the
100%.
difference.
And I
So
mean, even looking at it, like I can tell the difference. I can be like, okay, well, this deck looks like it'll have a better matchup. I can never really put it into words why I think that, but like you put it into
mm,
words, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
okay,
Mhm.
So
hey,
I mean,
maybe you all can look
I
forward.
saw your recent video, Johnny. It was just
y-
like I have no idea what I'm doing.
yeah, I really don't like I really don't like. My brain is like, okay, these cards work really good, and they do what you're trying to do. So put them all together, and then in the game, it's like my brain is like going through like 50 different scenarios at the same time, and I'm like, okay, well, this seems like the least risky one. Let's go with it, and then I will immediately forget what I just talked about, what I just thought about. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah,
It's all
for me,
intuition
it's
for
just
you,
it really is. It really is. It's just like 20 years of playing card games. It's just like at that point, everything kind of becomes second nature.
for sure.
Ex-
What were you saying, Jai?
it's just for me. It's just like I put all my thought into the deck building. Into in the gameplay, I just go into Ooga Booga mode. I can't. I'm just like I do this. It's
That's fair. I
That
mean, like a lot of people have seen success with the Ooga Booga mode. I mean, Cyclops has. Cyclops came in third in the last tournament, and he went Ooga Booga, or no, he came in fourth in the last tournament. He went Ooga Booga Booga beat down.
Yeah.
Sonic Core GG's.
and that's
Sonic Woody.
not for this video, but that's actually a good discussion on different mentalities going into playing the game and why certain people see success with certain decks as opposed to other ones where they're just like, wow, I can't play this. So I think we'll definitely see more of that once we get the official release as well. So more reason that this will be great information to collect to compare to once we get the Kickstarter.
I will say Dan is definitely looking at like ways to make the early game less dominating. Because like right now, it really does feel like the way to win the early game is, or the way to win is to take control of the early game. You get 3 Elestrals on board at the start of the game, and you basically win.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so he's definitely looking at a way to like fix that. So, I mean, just to screw everyone's numbers
All
up.
of the comeback material besides resting is the same as the control material.
Yeah, and it's also super expensive too. Like poison tip, you're basically taking 3 damage because they can still attack you for the damage. Then you have to expend at the end of the turn for the third damage, and then you have earthquake, which is 2, and it has to be 2 of a specific type. So you have to make sure that you have the ratios left over for that. And it's just like there really isn't any comeback or control material that's actually viable outside of like shield, which is viable for the wrong reason.
Yeah,
And then
it really is.
and Laurels, which is the most amazing card art. I love KG, so I'm just throwing that out there. But it's also is one of the most amazing cards that we have so far because it's just such cheap removal that you can do at any given point in time. And it doesn't only count your enchanted spirits on Elestrals, it also counts the divine gods. So if you're not playing any gods and your opponent has god on board, you're always going to have a Laurels target. It's just
I mean, Johnny, that was our game yesterday, pretty much.
how
Foreshadowing when we release that one, if it isn't
Wait,
already
hold
out.
on. That reminds me, I have to unsub. I'll do it later.
Yeah, no, and I think that's all like really good points. Is once you start breaking down the spirit cost of everything and comparing it, there's
Chat, he
a.
laurels me 5 times.
I need to add a laurel counter up on the top, being like 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm doing that now. But
No, God.
Panda the Laurels. Even more.
But I do think it's a really good point. Once you start breaking down like the spirit cost of cards and such, that adds a whole other level to the game. That I think you'll really start seeing seeing a skill difference with players about those who view the cards as just removal, and then those who actually evaluate the spirit cost of them when planning out their strategy. Because not to give away my game too much from yesterday, but there was a situation where pretty much I said, you know, is it such a bad thing if they use that card because they're using up their spirits? So
Yeah.
They drew 8. Oh my God.
yeah. I'll be honest, I should have lost that one, but
I like stopped halfway through because I want to see. I was like, I want to see if he comes out of this, and I want to see it in a video. I don't want to watch it in person.
fair. Honestly, just for you, Johnny, I might edit that video here and just send it to you so you can get a sneak preview of it because it was a good one.
I want to see it with everyone else.
Okay, fair enough. But
All right,
that's a fun teaser for you all for the future.
Which also brings us to an interesting topic. Jai, content creation. Have you thought about it?
I did want to, but I'm on a laptop and OBS plus tabletop does not work very well.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Is it an older laptop?
I have been there.
It's Intel Core i5.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know if that's good.
Yeah, no.
To give you context, I have a 4-year-old laptop, and I'm surprised it does as well as it does, but it's got like NVIDIA and i7 core, so that's the only reason I've been able to play Tabletop Simulator, render a video, while also having Chrome up. Don't recommend it, but that's kind of a good starting point to compare your PC.
I think I haven't actually tried recording the video, but I know that live streaming doesn't work. It's super laggy.
Live stream is a whole other beast.
Yeah.
Even my computer can struggle with streaming at a time, and
the thing is, I have a computer right here, but it doesn't work, and I'm very sad. So yeah.
But hey, goals for the future, right? Get a better computer, maybe you'll consider it.
All right, all right. Jacob, you got questions?
I
Because
am.
I could think of a billion more.
You go ahead. I'm going to try to formulate some more because I had one and then we went off topic.
All right, so Jai, obviously I'm an aggressive player, and Jacob is a tempo-based player. If you had to
Banker.
classify yourself as like some kind of player, what kind of player would you classify yourself as?
Um, well, I heard the question. Uh, classify myself as I think I just play whatever I want to. I don't think about that much.
Kind of goes
That's
into the
fair.
Oonga Boonga once you build your deck.
Yeah,
Fair.
Well,
I
I mean,
just
like,
I pick something I want to build around and build around it, and then go booga and game.
that's fair. I
So
mean,
I
that
don't
that
really
is
know.
I mean, that is completely fair. Obviously, like we have to do like a bunch of different decks for videos. Jacob probably hasn't done as many experimental decks as I have. But I'm sorry, I'm looking at Jacob. I should be saying Eagle the Duck, but it says Jacob on Discord, so I'm like,
You can call me
uh,
Jacob. That's fine.
but obviously Jacob hasn't done as many decks as I have, but I've been like bouncing around with like 10, 15 different decks, going from deck to deck to deck to deck to test stuff out. And like it's honestly it's kind of fun to go ooga booga once you actually like, get to the deck built. Because for example, in the video that released today for my channel, I don't know when Jacob's releasing his, but we were playing Imperial versus Majesty, and I was like, okay, I see combo, go for big numby and hit.
Yeah.
and you could literally just like see Jacob just going like, okay, well I'm gonna run into that, and I'm like, it's six, you can't.
I don't know what it is about the stadiums. I just can't stadium math.
Big numby. So yeah, no, I
Look,
100% understand like turning off your brain once you get in the match. I love it.
Yeah,
see,
I'm looking at the decks I have made, and I think most of them are burn, but there is like a few aggro, a few control, and one beatdown that I just made. So I guess burn right
and
now.
those are the easiest deck to kind of just not turn off your brain and just slam down whatever works.
Yeah, yeah. Neck rough into eruption. GG's mate.
Yep. I mean,
Eruption, eruption, eruption. Panda eruption.
yep.
Exalted.
I opened double eruption against what's his name, Cox yesterday, and and he was like, "Oh, well, I guess I just lose then." I was like, feels bad."
Actually, I have footage of Zane and I testing where he opened triple eruption on me.
I think there's a video I did where I opened triple eruption, panda send for the eruption, and then eruptioned again against Wirtz. I don't know if it got turned into a video or not because that was like when I just kept forgetting to hit record. There was like an entire week where like we'd go to record videos and I would just completely forget to hit record. And it was like it had the best memes. Like Wirtz would like do like the most random decks, and like I would be over here like doing like the most amazing plays, and we just forgot to hit record.
Well, fun moments that will never see the light of day, I guess.
Yep.
True, true.
At least you got the one video with the five spirits on Centaur.
Yeah, Johnny, you really like to just try out whatever comes to your mind. Half the time, I'll like think of one thing, build it, and then everyone else will have done a ton of other things, and I'm just like, I could build this, but I rather just go watch everyone else's video and just try out their deck.
Well, like the huge thing I see about content creation is like if I make the same video where I play the same deck like 17 games in a row, I always see drop off and like
Yeah, of course.
interaction. Like it's not fun to watch Summer Winds curb stomp whatever deck I'm playing
Yeah.
against. Nobody enjoys that. So what I kind of like noticed was the more Mimi videos, while they may not get more views, they're a lot more fun to do, and they have roughly the same amount of interaction, right? And that's kind of like the thought process I went into it was like, well, if it doesn't matter what deck I play, I might as well have fun with it because
Yeah.
while I love Summer Winds and like I love playing Summer Winds, I mean obviously it's one of my favorite decks to play. I mean it is the deck I piloted that broke the meta.
At some
um,
point, it just isn't interesting to watch.
it's also not interesting to play like
Yeah.
17 games in a row. I mean, especially when it's like, it's much more high risk than high risk than high reward.
Hmm.
Because like if I lose playing Summer Wins, it's a big event. Everybody's talking about it for like, a couple hours, 3 to 4 hours, it's not, it just becomes this big thing. But if I win using it, it's like there's no reward. Now if I win using five Spirit Since Harbor, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
Dan's mad at me, and Dan's messaging me in Discord, going like, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Literally, the day that we figured out, or the day after we figured out how to do that, I mentioned it casually in the Discord, and Dan was like, "How? I need to know."
Yeah.
And I
I
was like,
saw
"It's
that.
so inconsistent. It's not good, but it hurts if it ever happens."
Yeah. Those are the real fun decks. Is once you can finally get it off, it's like
Yeah.
it's worth losing like 100 times.
Yeah.
I was
And
actually
that's
go ahead.
no, go for it.
I was actually happy when you mentioned the other day about trying to build around the 3 spirit boss cards, because I was just like, I was kind of in a rut with trying to build decks, so I was just like, let's just throw caution to the wind,
Yeah,
and that was a
no,
lot of
like
fun.
the huge like downside to 3 cost spirits is or 3 cost celestials is the fact that like you can just get shielded, right?
Yep.
If you just
For
bait
poison
out your
tip.
opponent's shields, or if you just pop their shields, or you pop their poison tips, because like I am literally throwing poison tip into every single deck I build going forward, just because of the fact that there are people who don't understand that 3 cost spirits celestials are bad. But if you're not running poison tipped arrow, then 3 cost spirits are suddenly a lot spirit celestials are suddenly a lot better.
Yeah.
It's like they're bad because they're so easy to out, and it's like they cost so much for what they're worth. But then it's like if you're not playing the outs to them, then they're so
And
good.
yeah, they really are. And that's why I think you see everyone running some 3 shield and either. I see a lot of people run 3 Gorgon, but I do think poison tip arrow is a bit better.
Yeah, I've been running Gorgons on the side.
Yeah, and I do agree with
Gorgon
that,
and
as it can stop the ascensions before they even happen.
All right, so something interesting that Jai pointed out was our side decks basically all look the same,
Yes.
like in the Elestrals tournament.
Yes.
Jai, what would you say you were expecting from a side deck?
I usually put like 3 spirits in there to like have some. So like if I say, oh, I was running out of Earth that game, I'll put in some Earth. If I'm running like an Earth 5 deck, and I could do the same with Fire. But like I don't think I saw anyone doing that. So I was just like, is this just not? Am I not doing this right? I guess. I don't really know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, I did expect like Pandoras everywhere in the spy decks.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Pandora's Box is just the best way to shut down Since Harbor. You don't want to have that Since Harbor dropped on you. There's no reason not to play it. It's also the best way to shut down Stratomoth, which, again, there's no reason not to throw Pandora's Box on the side just in
I
case somebody
also
plays Stratomoth.
Yep.
I also wasn't expecting 3 Galaxy, 3 Gorgons, 3 Pandoras, and all 3 of your decks. Side decks.
So to elaborate for anybody who doesn't understand why we're running 3 Galaxia in the side deck is Galaxy is such a great card because it counters water. We were playtesting it. Every time like somebody dropped a Galaxy, they were like, "Oh, wait, hold on, this outs your board." It was just so good.
We'll see if we actually side into it, but it's there
It's the
for the bit.
opposite of Tsunami.
I don't think we actually have any like water players for the most part, do we?
No, there's a few.
There is one. I'm looking right now.
There's
There's
what's the
3
team?
total, right?
Nog has one.
Yeah, Mog has Majesty Turbo, and then I forget the team name that Cox is on. They have a Water Fire deck.
Skull Dagger, yeah.
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 The Silver Solids.
So there are quite a few as well, which I'm really interested to see how they perform.
Key Smash has Hurricane Mason. Yeah, which is a water wind.
Johnny, I could just tell you want to destroy all of them to just prove that water's the worst.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, man.
And Omega has Steam Surge.
Something like
Roughly
that.
6. Yeah.
And we only tested, I think, 3 of them, though. but we
I know I
spitballed like 6 decks.
Yeah, I tested like 3 decks off like against other people than them.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, well maybe we can actually see if we can make water a thing. And Zane actually used that same deck to beat Mr. Balls. Or no, Kui, he beat Kui. Zane used that same water deck to beat Kui 2-0. And he was like, "Oh my god, I won with water, Jade. I won with water." I'm like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, and then I tried water and just cried the entire time.
But
Yeah.
it is really interesting to hear you say that you had the same kind of thought process as us, though. Was that you wanted people to be like, interchangeable with the decks, not so much locking themselves into a single deck.
Yeah.
Because
And I
that's
feel
kind of
like
what we thought too, but no one else did it.
you'll be able to punish people who do that because you'll know that, say, if Lulu keeps playing Small but Mighty, you'll know which deck to use every time against them.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny and I kind of already did that with against Team Nog, where Johnny got the first win, which I think is the hardest one because that's where the most variables are present. But then when I was looking over deciding my deck list, I saw their 2 deck lists, and I was just like, actually, it really doesn't matter which one I pick because there should be a favorable matchup in the third game as well. So little stuff like that, just being able to break down each matchup as they happen, I think is going to be huge.
Which this video is going out before the end of the tournament, everybody. So we're obviously giving away, ideas to the
If
opponents, but
if they watch it.
If they
they
watch
would
it.
have if they watch it. Well, Still the Spirits is like the most popular non-official Elestrals series. So I
Okay.
mean, like it averages around 100 plus views before the week's end. So
I don't know about you, Johnny,
if
but I think it'll just make it more interesting competitively than if
I
we
mean
just
I
steamroll
mean
them
it
with
will.
our thought
I,
process.
I mean it will. Don't get me wrong, but also um, it is kind of a concerning thing because they might try to like start playing the other people's decks, and none of those decks have the same form of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Not all there's mid-range decks along with control decks. There's aggro decks next to control decks. None of those decks have the same play style. So I am kind of concerned that an aggressive player like Cyclops might go to grab a mid-range deck from his team, or a control player like Wertz might hear us talking like this, right? And go, okay, well, they think I'm going to be playing water control or whatever, right? So I'm going to switch to Mulaw's aggro deck. And Mulaw, a newer player with a lot less experience than a lot of other players in this tournament, is going to be switching to an aggro deck. Or a control deck. It's situations like that where it's like, I can see where it's appealing to try and like flip up your strategy mid tournament, but not all those players have the experience to
Mm-hmm.
properly do that. Because
Yeah.
if we just suddenly was like, hey Zane, here's a control deck, play it. We saw how that went. you
Yeah.
know, he didn't play horribly, but it wasn't the outcome that we wanted.
Yeah.
It was I mean, I think he went like 1-2.
Yeah. And I can speak on that from Zane and I's testing. I'm not going to give away what deck it is because I don't want to give away all our secrets here. But there's one deck that Zane and I were testing with, and the difference in like our mentality when approaching the deck was very evident when we were testing it because I kept coming out on top. And I'm glad that we did that because then Zane could learn based on how I was playing the deck how he might be able to better play it, especially in the matchups we were testing. So that's another I think crucial part about this is making sure that you understand how to play your team's decks as well if you're going to switch it up.
Yeah, because I mean, like we kind of got to the point where all three of us can mostly use these decks the way they're intended.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like we might have different like ideas and play styles behind them. I mean, for example, I mean, I play Mono Earth, much more tempo, and I can easily segue into a aggro based. I can also, somehow work it into a control based, which I saw against playing against. Was it Drink? I think it was Drink Lore. But I like switched it to a much more control based focus when I realized, okay, well, I can't beat over his things anymore. Let me go ahead and minimize the amount of risk I have going on here.
Yeah. And I think being able to recognize that with any deck is super important. That's where I'm really interested to personally see how I do, because you're talking about all these players kind of fitting into certain niches, and if it's not obvious by my channel, I play Vanguard. Vanguard, every deck's pretty much a mid-range deck, but within that, there's some variance between control, aggro, pure mid-range tempo. So I found it actually very interesting from when I was seeing people kind of get stuck in these mindsets, while I'm just like, okay, well, let me just try to shift between the different playstyles a bit more than in Vanguard.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, obviously, with my content, like making content, I have to play so many different play styles too. Like so. I mean, that's kind of like where I was like, okay, well, let's like build a control deck. Then we saw how Zane did with the control deck, and I was like, let's not build a control deck,
yeah,
uh, because I mean, like, I personally know that I could play most, if not any, type of deck, in Elestrals. I don't, not to sound arrogant or anything like that. I just
that's the
have
kind
a
of player you
lot
are.
of yeah, I mean, I have a lot of time logged playing Elestrals. Then I also do play Vanguard too. I play Yu-Gi-Oh! I play Magic. Each game I've changed decks up constantly. Like I'm constantly, playing different decks, getting a different idea of decks. For example, in V format, I know you'll understand what I'm saying, but I don't. I don't. Jai, will you understand what I'm saying if I say Vanguard?
Do you know anything about Vanguard?
Not really. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay. Well, in V format, I played Nova Grappler.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Hey, I quit playing after like set two. Okay, so it was still good at the time.
No, what? No, it was not good. I'm
Hey, man,
sorry.
wait. You wanna run it back set one V format? Let's go. I will do this to you. I will do this to you. I will do you dirty like that.
Hey, I tested
I'm
all those
down for
decks. I am
that.
pretty confident saying that Nova Grappler. Okay, anyway, we're getting off topic
Okay,
here.
yeah. Okay, but yeah, in V format set one, I played Nova Grappler. In Vanguard Zero, I played Nova Grappler. No, I played Dragon Empire because I thought that I would be.
Kagero
I played
specifically.
Kagero,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, Kagero. I played Kagero because I was trying to get Nova Grappler cards, and it threw all of the Kagero URs at my face. So that sucked.
Yeah, that's a very different playstyle.
Yeah, and then around that same time period, I was playing a lot of Magic, and I would be playing mid game. I'd be playing mid game tempo, um, so or mid range tempo. Sorry, uh, and then I was also playing a OTK deck and Yu Gi Oh at the same time. So having to constantly change my mindset like over and over and over again. The hardest part was literally remembering the rules of the game I was playing.
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah, I totally get that. Because like I play Vanguard, Digimon, and now Elestrals. And sure, my Elestrals, what's publicly known right now is I play mostly Water, which I played more of. I classified it as more of a board control beatdown, but that's really not an accurate statement. It was more of a tempo deck, getting ahead on board, and then just switching to and keeping up that tempo. But then I was like playing Vanguard, where I was playing more of uh, combo deck, and then like Digimon, I was playing Magnamon X Antibody, which is also more of a. I guess that one is more of a tempo deck. But like just being able to switch between the two, I was just like, wait, what are the rules again? So I totally get that.
Yeah, my brother who plays like 5 card games less than me yesterday, he like went to go draw while we were playing MHA for a video, and he drew like 7 cards, because we just finished playing Pokemon. So he drew like 7 cards. Then he looks down and he reads his hand size on his card, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a 6-hander," and I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "I'm gonna just tuck this right in the middle here."
Yeah.
And then like remembering all the mulligan rules too is just such a pain. I mean, like I've had games in Elestrals where I've forgotten to expend the 2 for the mulligan, and I'll have people call me out on it, and I'm like, dude, trust me, this is just like the biggest trip up for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, I really do like the discussion around like different play styles and decks, because that's something I've always found interesting, especially being a Vanguard player, since you don't see that much variance. But I do think we're getting a bit off topic here, and this would actually be a great conversation for maybe another Steal the
Yeah,
Space
this is
podcast to
this
go
is
full in depth.
yeah. More on focus here.
Yes.
I was gonna say, if the tournament, hold on,
I think you're back now. You cut out for a
I
second.
thought
Or not.
We killed Jai.
Oh.
I was gonna say the tournament's designed to have diverse players win, so if you can play multiple types, you'll probably win more. Because because since you've made such similar decks, if the other players play like their best matchup against you, like if they switch to, I don't know what the best matchup is, but like say Gapple was, then Words and Magic switched to Gapple, and they were good at it, they would probably beat you. So it's just about like picking the best type.
I think this would also, if assuming everyone could switch up like that, I think that'd also be a real great experiment to see where the power level's at in the game, because we're in with such a limited format and so little tournament results. I think it's a bit hard to actually say how good the different decks are, and because I get your point that obviously some of them should have natural counters, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I think it would be interesting to see if those counters are good enough from a card pool perspective and power level.
When I play Summer Winds, literally I guess global warming now because somebody has no respect for tradition. I hate whoever did that. Who was that?
Wait,
I think it was Nog. No, it wasn't
no.
Mega.
We just didn't get the names for the decks by mistake, and then what was the person's name? Who's helping you out, Jai?
Sterlia.
Yeah, Sterlia.
I have Sterlia.
It was Sterlia who mentioned the names, and well, we don't need to go into that.
Sterlia renamed our general chat here, Johnny.
Yeah. I don't actually know who posted Summer Winds because they made it differently.
What were you saying about Summer Winds, Johnny?
It's funny because two times of those of me posting in the general chat and like actual general chat, I actually thought I was in Zane chat. Like no joke, I genuinely thought I was in Zane chat when I posted, and it's like nobody would believe me. And I was like, guys, no, I swear to God, this time is actually it. I actually did this on accident because it was like I can't remember if I was talking to Zane about it or if I was talking to what's his name? Oh my God, Baron. Oh, I think it was Zane. I think it was Zane. I was talking to somebody about water, about actually trying to run water because I was like, Globby is so good. Because like I was misreading Globby, and I thought Globby would allow you to like play a 2 enchant like at once, so you could play a 2 cost. And so I was like, oh my god, that's so good. That's so much better than I thought it was. Because then I could play Capragol for basically well, like on one single turn. I was like, that's so great. And then somebody like just just sniped that idea out of my head. And I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're saying something. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
I feel like there should be more ways to get like Elestral spam besides Capital, because that would like make the meta whatever's the very minimum.
It's just really hard because whatever kind of strategy you go for, you need to make sure that there are ways to answer it. But then some of those answers can become really oppressive. Like that, hence why we see cards like Raigeki and Yu-Gi-Oh get limited or even banned. Is that it can answer a swarm format, but then it can just be so oppressive in a non-swarm format. So I will find it interesting to see how Dan actually balances these kind of answers throughout the course of the entire game. I don't know if you disagree with that, Johnny, or not.
So okay, no, it just makes me think of one of the biggest concerns I had going into Elestrals was Dan was talking about changing card effects and stuff like that constantly, and I was like, in one of the videos I made, I was like, okay, so errata is a scary word. Please stop saying that word. And it was like, oh, it's only for the play testing, right? It's only for the play testing that we're gonna be changing the card effects on cards. It's we will be having final effects at that point. We'll be limiting and restricting cards for going forward after the actual print is out, right? And the first thing I thought of was this man's about to ban Aeolus.
I mean,
yeah.
I can't wait to see more gods. I feel like that would be awesome.
We only have like 40 more cards in set one, and we know almost all of them.
Well, set one's always not the best judge of what the game's going to be because it's such a limited card pool as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, like, he's literally told us like we know Adola's effect, we know Monster Reborn's effect, We know the names of almost every other card in the set, uh, but like we're just waiting on him to actually drop the effects, which is going to be a massive dump this month because he has to get everything out before the start of November.
That's going to be super exciting and definitely change up the meta. I know, Johnny, you and I are
Yeah.
going to have a lot of fun just starting to
Uh,
test stuff.
Probably do another
I'm
tour.
sorry. Could you repeat that? I like just got traumatized there for a second.
Oh, I was gonna say once all the official effects drop, you and I are gonna have a lot of fun just trying to start playing new decks, maybe figure out a new meta and such.
I would like some of that copium you're huffing because I'm not gonna have fun.
You're just gonna do summer winds again.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do like 3 different variants of Summer Winds, and we're gonna call it a day. Well, if Dan's not gonna hit the card, or if Dan's not gonna change the card effects of the problem fucking card.
Oh, okay. Well, that was the information I was missing while you were saying that. I was just like, it sounds like he's going to do a ton of different stuff. So,
No,
okay.
if Dan's not gonna restrict Aeolus or change Aeolus,
Mm.
which I mean it's on his radar. Like especially after I won the last tournament, and I can credit it all to Aeolus, and the only other win deck wasn't playing Aeolus, and it still came in second. I mean, like it's just, and now with everybody playing the Aeolus package,
Such a
it's on
versatile
his
package.
radar.
Yeah.
It's just the most insane package. It's on his radar. He's already said that he's looking to change it. I mean, he's thrown like 4 or 5 ideas at us to like how we should change it. We gave our feedback, and now we're just waiting on him to announce something, right? But it's like
It's every one drop wind buffs Aeolus.
it really is.
Yeah.
You
I
know the
mean,
deck has
like
access to that.
I mean, and it doesn't cost you normal enchant. And that's the powerful thing about Aeolus is every other searcher, it gets you the answer to any problem. But
It's delayed
it
by a
costs you
turn.
normal enchant. Yeah. Whereas Aeolus is just like, oh, well, they have back row and I have a beater. Well, let me just pop the back row just in case.
And if we're
Oh,
talking,
well, they're low on spirits. Let me Exaltair.
yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say.
I
It's
mean,
like it's literally if you look at Wynn's package, you've got Aramare, which is a generically good card. You have Sorlet, which is a great card to out something by switching its position. You've got P-Gust if you need to get rid of a rune. You've got Exalter if you need to go over the top. It literally has an answer to almost everything.
you have Peliquarius in case you're playing water for whatever stupid reason and you need to search out Foamy. I mean, like the range of cards you have in Wind is too good. And then you have Carry On, which you never know when you can steal a Blazerus and attack for game.
Yeah.
I mean, like bare bones, and then you could also like you never know when your opponent's going to have 2 Elestrals with the same power that you could steal one of them and then crash them. I mean, the situations like that where it's
Yeah.
like even Garion's good as a one of.
And that's actually probably the best way to deal with a wider board is with Carry On now.
Yeah, and I mean like
Like,
everyone's
one
talking
too.
about how bad Carry On is, and that's like, well, don't get me wrong, Carry On is horrible. Carry On is garbage. Carry On's
very
entirely built
situational.
around crashing itself into something, but it's a good answer.
Yeah, it's like a really good
Super situation.
sideboard, or not even a sideboard, just a good one if you're running Aeolus if it ever comes up.
Yeah, and I mean, like, see, one of the things I was talking to Washi about when I was talking about how bad water is, I was like, water is good. It has a lot of good cards. They don't work together.
Mono water is bad.
Like, they don't work together at all. I was like, if you want to take, and they don't, they're not even the best utility cards. They're like the third best utility cards. They're better than fire. They're better than electric, because electric specifically requires you to use electric on it. Mostly wants you to use a pure electric deck. Riceros, for example, is only good if you're playing a lot of electric cards, right? But water is just there. It's just vibing because it's like wind does everything water does, but better. I mean,
like the only thing
I
water
mean,
has.
water can ramp, but it's like ramp isn't that good.
Yeah, I mean, like ramp is literally the opposite of good because of shield, because of tip, because of laurels. You have earthquake, you have litleo, or kinleo. I said litleo. You have kidleo. You have
Puppy power.
let's see, huh?
Puppy power.
Yep. Yeah. You have,
Okay,
and then you have
Sorry.
Sorlet, which can usually out most things. You have Wormite, which can usually out most things. It literally trains. It literally trades with Sonic Core. I mean, ramp is so bad. I hate saying it because I like genuinely love the idea of Majesty. I love the idea of dropping a Majesty and just being like, okay, your answers to this are either a counter rune or laurels or earthquake,
I think the
right?
other
But
continue.
no, there's no other. I mean, you can always like attempt to beat over it, but you can't use Wormite's effect to reduce its stats or anything like that because of yeah. So I mean, you're really restricted on how you can actually out it until you realize that's 12 cards, 9 of which are generic. I mean, and every deck is going to be playing 3 poison tip, three laurels, 3 shield. Every deck is playing that.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then we got to have a talk about your deck constructing skills. I think we have a deck that's not playing one of those. But
Well,
I did.
my other thought with water is that when you talk about ramp, it's a piece reliant deck. I mean, you have to have your combo pieces in hand, and I just don't think that's the and or you have to be able to keep stuff on board, and it just isn't realistic in this format either. At least that's my view on it. Like, I think the only other thing water has over everything else is like foamy, which is a really neat effect to try to keep up on board. It's just with all the removal, it's just your opponent just can easily out it, and it doesn't have amazing stats either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really like
I
foamy,
feel
but
like
not
Foamy's the one. It's like the card that's like you feel bad when you play against it because you don't always have what you need,
yes.
but you also feel bad when you're playing it because it seems like your opponent always can counter it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing about foamy. Is like okay, how I see foamy, I don't want to waste an earthquake on it unless I like absolutely have pressure, because every time I kill a foamy, you take a point of damage.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how I see it. Is like if I kill your foamy, let's say I attack foamy with a Necroff, well that's 2 damage because you're gonna use another spirit, right? And that's kind of like the mindset I have to go into going with foamy is like, unless I absolutely want to apply heavy pressure, why would I ever kill your foamy? Or if I'm actually worried about you having like a
Ascension.
stage 2 ascension or something in your hand, right?
And you don't have any
Then
back row.
why would I ever kill your foamy with an effect?
You can see from my videos, pretty much the time where foamy felt the best was when I could float and go up into a Capra goal and safely get off the Capra goal. And at that point,
Exactly.
you just get so far ahead, it's so hard for your opponent to come back. But if you're playing against the meta, more often than not, they're just going to have the answer anyway. They're going to have a back row, and in which case, foamy's just slowly whittling down your life. I feel like it has a lot of potential, but as it stands right now, it's just not. With all the answers, let me back up. Once if Ascension becomes decent, then foamy I think will be pretty good. But until then, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
So
That's when Danarada's every water Elestral to have like built-in protection effects.
so secretly hoping that maybe full set release with Harada's might make it viable, but at the same time, I have a feeling that a lot of stuff we might have to wait a set or two before we start seeing some other strategies become viable.
Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, the new tweet. Yeah.
Yo. So focusing back on the tour again. See, we keep going off tangents. I keep forgetting my questions.
It's okay. I have time. I'm good.
Yeah. What was my question again? Just focusing back on the tour. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Didn't get a chance to say this earlier, but we were talking about how Jai, you wanted to kind of see this people switch around decks, see a lot of diversity. There are people playing different decks. I was thinking how Johnny already said that's kind of our thought process going into it. But then what I was going to add to that was we kind of recognize that then it becomes less so about the decks and more about the mind games of switching around the players, the decks, the matchups. We can play a lot of mind games. So that definitely made it very interesting for us as well. And it sounds like that's kind of what you were hoping to see, was that kind of more mind game centric where it's not so much, the deck is less of a focus than the matchups themselves. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I guess that seems pretty accurate.
Okay.
I wouldn't even say like the deck or the matchup themselves is the interesting part. I think it's the players. For example, I mean, like, I know how Wirtz's brains work, right? Right now, he's either thinking, I'm going to meme the hell out of this, or I'm going to throw Johnny off so bad that when he locks me in, I'm going to know exactly what deck to play against him. Because he knows I'm going to lock him in. Because if I play Moolah, no offense to Moolah, but that's like smacking around a child.
didn't have to say that.
I mean, Moolah doesn't have the time to actually playtest, practice, etc. Right? He's broken down Summer Winds, but if I lock in Moolah, then I'm not playing Summer Winds because, like, literally, I don't know if you guys watched his announcement video or not. But he literally has made a video where he breaks down every single card that has been in Summer Winds at all at any point in given time, and he's breaking down every card to explain why it works so well with Summer Winds. Like, he has literally broken it down to a T. So I'm not playing Summer Winds if I play against Moolah.
Yeah, he knows the deck too well.
Global warming. But from the way that Words plays, Summer Winds is obviously the best lock, right? I mean, Words plays a lot more defensively, so if I lock in a super aggressive deck, it's going to outpace him just because the aggro cards are so much better than the defensive cards inside Elestrals. I mean, as long as I'm not playing like 2 cost cards, because obviously like Blazerus is a lot worse than Shield, right? But I mean,
Not
so
bringing back the aggro a little bit is good, but still aggro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Exaltair, like just like kind of like locking in Exaltair, throwing down Exaltair, and just going like, okay, well, instead of attacking into shit, I'm just gonna like go ahead and just keep nexusing. I mean, that's what I mean by aggro is like just kind of like not so much attacking as much as like putting on a spirit pressure.
Yeah, I think like the combination, the aggro and burn are very close together right now in the current format.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you have Nekroth, you have Arrowmare, you have Sorlet, you have other cards that hit those magic numbies, which you and I are very familiar with.
Yes.
But when I say magic numbers to other people, they're like, what? They're like, what?
No,
Because, like, I mean,
you literally see when I was building my foamy deck, I just talked about magic numbers. Like, I looked at it and said, I need to hit numbers if I'm going to do anything.
yeah, because I mean, like hitting those numbers are so crucial.
Yeah.
Like that's why Sorlet, Nekroth, even Arrowmare is so good. Is because 5 is just such an amazing number.
Yep.
That's why Rummagem broke Earth the second it was announced. I mean, because like suddenly Earth went from this deck that had no cohesive plays to suddenly a super aggressive / defensive play that also got you another super aggressive / defensive card
That's
or
good
utility
numbers.
card. It really is because I mean, Rummagem, if you have Foloi on board, is a 5/5, right? And it grabs you Sproutier, which is a 4/6 if you have a Foloi on board, which grabs you Scythe, which makes it a 6/6.
Yep, or it's
Scythe
just a
doesn't
nexus
have
target for equal links if you need rune destruction.
Exactly. So it's like it's just provides so much more pressure, so much more power.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
But no, I really think a huge part of it is also definitely going to be player. Because I mean, like I said with Moolah, like it's no offense to Moolah, but he hasn't gotten to practice. He is a great player. He's a phenomenal player. Do not get me wrong. When it comes down to actual gameplay, he can make reads, which is like huge part that most people struggle with is like reading back row, reading opponent responses, right, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He can make reads, but he doesn't have the time put into it. If that makes sense.
He doesn't have the experience to develop that skill.
And I mean, like, I've played against almost every single player in this tournament. I know how most of their brains work when it comes to like the actual match, right? With the exception of Kui, which surprises me because I love Kui. Kui and I are like really good friends, and I have not played against Kui, which is actually amazing to think about in hindsight. But it's like but I understand like going into this match, if I want to beat up, because like I mean, even with you, like when we were talking about like which players I wanted to play against, which players I thought you should play against, right? I was breaking down like every single player mentality. I didn't care about the deck. I was talking about the player mentality.
Yeah, and if you notice, I was talking about the deck because I don't know the players as well. So in that
Exactly.
regard, we actually work very well as teammates because I'm thinking deck matchups, you're thinking players, and if we could combine that two, it's going to be scary.
Okay, that's another thing, Jai. When you made it a draft tournament, or when you saw that it was going to be like team captains select their members, what did you think they would select their members based off of?
JadeJonny, best players, and just like good on a list of best players. JadeJonny first, and best players.
Okay.
JadeJonny's the best, and then just the moments.
So when I locked in Zane first pick, what was your thought process?
Well, you had reason. You said you wanted to help him, so I'm just like, okay.
Okay, so
leaves more options to everyone else.
After talking to people, do you know what their thought process was behind the players they picked?
I didn't actually get to talk to people. I think they just
Oh,
picked people they wanted to pick.
okay. So Pure picked people based off of people he's played before.
Who?
Axiom, Pure NCF, he picked people based off of who he played.
Mhm.
Like if he had played with them before, he picked them. uh, Moxie picked his players based off of obviously who was YouTubers,
Yeah.
which Jacob got left behind. But I will say Moxie has like such amazing synergy with Wirtz and Moolah. Like if you guys saw the Still the Spirits podcast with them, they are amazing. Like they are the idealistic group for like that kind of like three-way YouTuber, kind of like conversationalist kind of thing, right? I mean, like Jacob and I could talk for hours about competitive play. We could keep going and keep going and keep going. They aren't that kind of synergistic with us. I mean, like they are synergistic in the like entertaining way. We're synergistic in the competitive type of way.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, if you guys saw like obviously Jacob saw because he was like, oh, I was his third pick. I'm okay with that. Whenever I was talking with Baron about the people I wanted, I was like, oh, I want Noah and I want Zane because I think they're the two that can improve the fastest. Right. That was my first thought. Was I want Noah and I want Zane. And then I was like, later on, he was like, we got Noah got selected as a team member, and I was like, okay, well, as long as Jacob's left over at the end, it's either Jacob or Quee, and I want Jacob more than I want Quee. And I was like, the thing is, um, I wanted players I could synergize with. Everybody else wanted players they'd interacted with before, and that's like the huge thing that we're probably going to see
I
the
mean, that's
YouTuber
essentially
group.
the same thing.
Yeah, well, interacting with and synergizing are different.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, if
I
I
guess,
if
yeah.
if I make a suggestion to Team Victory, right? Spelled JadeJonny. If I make a if I make a suggestion to them, they're gonna take what I say, with a grain of salt. Like they're gonna take what I say, and they're either gonna run with it, they're going to oppose it. We're gonna have a discussion about it, and we're gonna come to a conclusion, right? If they say something, we're gonna take it into a conversation. We're gonna have a discussion about it, then we're gonna come to a conclusion. I mean, literally, a lot of the cards that we changed up, we had a discussion about. We talked about it. For example, you may or may have not noticed, Pandison isn't in global warming anymore. There, I called it global warming. Okay, whoever shows summer wins. I hate you. Um, but you may notice that Pandison got removed. We kind of all like came to the same conclusion that Pandison was just kind of sitting there every time we drew it. It's like it never felt good to play it, and never felt good to draw it, and it never felt good to like have it anywhere near our deck. So we were like, maybe it's best for the best if we just cut Pandison and throw in a different card or put in a card from the side, something else other than Pandison.
Same
I
thing with
mean,
Mono Earth because we were testing and we're just like, it really isn't that great to just throw it out there, nuke it, grab something back, when we can just have a good neutral card in Arrowmare and just throw an Earth Spirit on it and full ways up its
I think
5/6.
I think it was Bormite.
I think you made the change for Summer Winds after we discussed it, but Zane and I were actually testing Mono Earth when we also brought up that change. Because Pandison was originally in there. And your thought
Was
process was you could grab back an Earthquake if need be, since it doesn't have as much Elestral
Oh yeah,
removal.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, no. I think we changed Pandison out for Warmite because I don't think
Oh,
Warmite
yeah.
was in the original build. Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel
that
like
sounds right.
Panda's another one of those cards that are good in theory, but not in practice.
Yeah, because you're giving up your
It's
normal
like
enchant.
met in practice.
You're giving up your normal enchant. It sounds like it's Magician of Faith, but like Magician of Faith, they have to attack and do for to get the effect. Um, but with Pandison, you have to give up your normal enchant, then you have to use the disenchant effect, then you have to grab the card, then you have to prepay for the card. So let's say you're grabbing Nectar of the Gods, right? You paid the 2 for Nectar of the Gods, you paid the 1 to play Pandison, you paid the 2 to play Nectar of the Gods, you paid 5 to draw 4. That's bad, right?
Yes.
Let's say you grab Eruption, you pay the 2 for Eruption, you pay the 1 to grab it back with Pandison, you pay the 2 for Eruption, used 5 damage to you took 5 damage to deal 6. That's not a good exchange.
The only time where I see that being worth it is if you're going for Game Fair. And how often is Pandison just a dead card in hand? How often does that scenario come up?
Pandison is way too often a dead card. Or like Laurels, 3 for popping 2 cards definitely isn't bad. Pay 3, pop 2 cards. I mean, Earthquake is pay 4, pop 1, pay 4, pop 2 cards, right? So Laurels into Pandison into Laurels isn't that bad until you realize it's so circumstantial. How often does your opponent have 2 Elestrals while you're behind on board advantage?
Yeah. And actually,
I
mean,
do like
oh, go ahead, John.
Panda plus Ambrosia. That's like fine. It's like very. I feel like
Well-
it's just like a worse Gorgons in the way that it's like each infect is circumstantial, but together it's very versatile.
Well, I mean, if you go if you go Panda plus Ambrosia,
You're
you
just going
gain
back one
1
spirit.
life off of Ambrosia.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying there, but my question always is in this format, what are you doing to win off of that?
Eruption. Sorry. That's the aggro player in me. My bad.
Go ahead, Jai. What were you going to say?
What?
I thought you were about to say
Nothing.
something. Okay. But off of what Johnny was saying, actually, I've noticed that I hate when people do Pandasyn plus Nectar of the Gods. I think that's a huge rookie mistake. And a good one, if you do it, that's perfectly fine. Just learn from it. And that's because I think people think card draw is better than it is in this game.
Now, I will say, if you're behind on card advantage, Pandasyn into Nectar of the Gods is perfectly fine. I've done it before. I mean, I there's been situations where I've been like, okay, this is the best play I have to make, right? Pandasyn into Nectar of the Gods, behind on card advantage. Your opponent has 5 cards. You have access to 2. Obviously, Pandasyn into Nectar of the Gods is a good play. But I agree with you for the most part. If you're just like doing it turn 1, that is just expend to draw a card. Like don't even bother normal enchanting at that point. Just expend to draw a card.
I see people just doing that just outright. They're just like, oh, this is a play I can make. I can see more cards. But then if they don't have a response to what I have on board with like their runes, it's just like, well, what are you actually doing to keep up on board? You're just going to fall behind with that play. That's like the important skill point to notice.
If you're digging for answers like with a Pandasyn for a Nectar of the Gods, you're probably behind on the board as it is. At that point, expend a draw card. You would keep 1 more spirit, and maybe you'll top deck into a Laurels. Maybe you'll top deck into an Earthquake. In which case, you're using 3 spirits on an Earthquake, 2 spirits on a Laurels, where you would have been using 5 spirits and on a Pandasyn plus Nog plus Earthquake, or 4 spirits on a Pandasyn plus Nog plus Laurels. It's just much more fiscally responsible, I guess, is that what you call it, to just expend 1 to draw a card than it is to expend 2, or to expend 1 to play the Pandasyn, then expend 2 to play the Nog. Then you lose the Pandasyn, that you took 3 damage, and you may or may not have drawn into what you would have drawn into if you used expend to draw.
And on that note, for Lulu, great guy. I loved seeing him improve from the first time we played. But one thing I really want him to kind of notice is just that value trade, because one of the reasons I think I was able to win that matchup, being so far behind in card advantage, is instead of using what he had to make sure he could get back ahead, instead he decided to go for more card draw. And I was just like, looking back, I'm like, why would you sack Pandasyn for an Ambrosia and not just try to finish the game?
For those of you who don't have context, this man drew 8 cards in 1 turn.
Nearly decked him. He's at 3 cards left in deck. And looking back on that game, I should have lost it. And most likely. Because he had so many cards in it, he had to have answers, but he opted to dig deeper. And I think one of the most important things you need to ask yourself is, at what point is there just no answers? You just need to actually start aggressing and trying to close out the game. Sometimes that is the best answer. And I think that's such a huge thing to learn. Is you can't, that's a good way, but you can't necessarily rely on specific card effects to win you the game, like your obvious outs. Sometimes your out is just attacking, building up a board.
All right, so we're hitting that hour mark.
Yes.
So let's like ask like 2 or 3 more questions and then segue into the end of this.
That sounds good, because I do have somewhere I need to be in like an hour.
So I was supposed to be at work an hour and a half ago.
Johnny.
It's fine. I have to read at the schedule anyway, so it's fine. Okay, so Jai, question: who do you expect to win? You can be.
I mean, listening to this, I think you guys because you're actually willing to switch up decks, and you are JadeJonny.
Oh, thank you.
Don't inflate his ego. I'm his teammate, but don't inflate his ego.
I mean,
Oh, you should see what my girlfriend tells me every time I tell her about one of the match breakdowns. She's just like, "Okay, so are you gonna tell me something new anytime soon?"
My fiance does the same thing. She's just like not surprised. She's like, yeah, that sounds like you. I'm like, okay.
She,
Oh my
but
god.
she's like super proud of you, but at the same time, isn't that what
I
you did
mean,
last
Yeah,
tournament?
yeah, yes.
I think Silver Soilets also have a chance because Axiom's also really good of a player, and
Yeah, I
um,
saw
if
Johnny
they
in this
like
game.
if they learn to switch up decks, I think they have similar decks. They have an aggro, a mid, and a burn.
Yeah, no, I agree. If they switch up their decks, then yeah. But after talking to Kui, it sounds like they kind of like locked in their deck choices.
Interesting. Yeah, and I kind of hope to see
Oh
people.
yeah, that was Zane that was there for that conversation, not you.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was Zane, me, Pure, and Kui, and we were all talking about about how we went into the deck building process, and literally their Pure was like, "Oh yeah, this is the deck that I want to play for the rest of the tournament," and then Kui was like, "Yeah, no, it took forever for us to actually get into a call, and when we did get into a call, we played like 5 games, and then we locked in our decks."
Jeez, he and I were testing all week. It's the
Yeah.
crazy thing. Yeah, no. I'm hoping that maybe they might change up decks because we've talked so much about people um, being more prone to certain play styles and such. And one thing I really want to test with experience, because that's what I'm lacking right now, is the experience, is just to see if I can be versatile at that stuff. Because honestly, I like trying out different decks. I want to be versatile, and I think how this tournament's been set up lends very well to people not necessarily well being versatile in both what decks they can play, but also like deciding their matchups. So we'll see.
All right, and then a more personal question, Jai, what's your favorite Celestial?
It's a good one.
No, that's hard. I don't know. There's so many.
I gotta say, design wise, mine is probably Pandason, just because of like its backstory and everything,
Yes, that's a
like how it
What's the
was
backstory?
created. Pandason was created because Dan asked everybody to like throw in ideas for an Celestial, and they came upon a plague doctor panda.
I think I like that too.
So that's probably gonna be my favorite because of that
Very
reason.
cute. I like Panderson.
Now, if we're talking like just in general, then it's probably Trifernal because I mean like Trif best card. Let's go.
yes.
But I would scream, but this is going on Jacob's channel. I'm not gonna do that to him. It's also like literally an hour after I woke up, so
Fair.
Yeah, I'd have to say panda. It's very cute.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good answer. Kind of also fits into the grass motif of your little phantom there.
Yeah.
So I do have one
Jacob,
final question for
wait,
you, Jai.
you,
Oh,
you gotta answer the question.
oh, I do as well.
Well,
Yep.
duh.
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry.
answered the question. You answer the question.
I think it's like a toss up between Capricorn and Foamy because I'm really proud about how much I built that deck, even though it isn't good. I just like what it does a lot. Just kind of being able to recognize that fact of going wide on board is really good right now, even if it's really hard to pull off. So I just really like what those two do. And I do feel like there's potential there, just not in this current format. So,
Well, let me say as a quick disclaimer, just because a deck is not good competitively, because this
yeah.
is something where it's just like trying to drill into me for like the longest time, is that I make people feel bad whenever I say deck is trash. Just because when I talk about a deck being bad or good, it's from a competitive standpoint. Just because a deck is not good competitively does not make it actually factually bad. It does not make it objectively bad. It just means I would personally not play it in a tournament. I mean, that's all I mean when I say trash or bad, is
And
that I would not take it into an event and expect to win.
and usually
So
that's just because your matchups into those aren't great. It's just not a
yeah,
favored deck, even if you're
yeah. I
playing
mean,
it objectively the best way you can.
yeah, exactly. Water is just kind of like hard countered by the meta right now. That's the only reason water is bad. I
Yeah.
mean, so
And also, I mean, I would go out and say if you're playing casually against players like not meta decks, the Capricorn
water's
deck,
busted.
yeah, it's really
Capricorn's so
busted.
busted.
I feel like every time I play against a fairly new player, I just bully them with the Capricorn deck because
Yeah,
I think how I've taken it, it uses a very acute understanding of the game rules and mechanics and just kind of uses it to a T in almost a bullying sense.
Yeah.
So I apologize to my opponents for that one.
Yeah, you used it against me, and I got destroyed.
Yes.
It was just good playing.
It just recognizes that there's no wide board removal, so if you can pace it out and go wide, you can't really do much.
All right. So Jacob, you said you had a question.
Yes. Jai, I was wondering that if I figured that you're focused more right now on finishing out the tour, but assuming that it goes well, are you interested in running more just unofficial events in the future, especially as we move into Kickstarter?
Probably. That's if I stay with the community. I don't know how much I'll actually be able to donate into Kickstarter. Maybe I'll have to stick with proxies.
But even if you just run on a tabletop simulator, that's just $20.
Yeah.
So I guess the better question for it is, have you been enjoying so far running the tournament and kind of seeing the results start to trickle in?
I have. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, that's good. And I think that's the most important thing. Are you having fun with this venture?
Yeah, I just can't wait to see what happens and what people think of it.
I'm glad to hear that, actually. I know Johnny and I are certainly excited as well.
Hey, listen, man. I've already sold all my Elestrals cards. I'm actually just reinvesting into Vanguard. So, Dan sent us that product early. I got the videos recorded, and I got them all scheduled to come out. So I'm just gonna be
Hey, I mean, I've been sleeving 3 new trial decks here, so.
Oh yeah, no, I like bought like full on play sets of max rarity chaos. So I'm all ready for this.
Jai, context. If you ever get into Vanguard, don't play Chaos.
Chaos.
Oh wait, Chaos Breaker? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Standard, because there's a Chaos in Standard that's awful. Anyway.
I have no clue what Vanguard is, so I'm just gonna stay out of this.
You know what, Johnny? I'll link you the card and you'll see why later.
Alright. Is it D standard or is it V standard?
D standard.
D standard. Okay, yeah, no, I'm talking V standard.
Oh, V standard? Love Chaos.
Yeah, I love Chaos. Chaos is sexy.
Anyhow, I have no other questions. Do you have any questions left, Johnny?
Yeah. Why is Trifernal the best card ever? And that's all I gotta ask.
Do you have it tattooed on you yet?
Yeah,
no, if I hit 2K, I've never said this in a YouTube video before. If I hit 2K subs, before the end of December, I will be getting Trifernal tattooed right here. Just its heads bursting out of fire, bursting out of blue flames. So if we get me to 2K subs by the end of the year, then I will be doing that. I've only ever said it on Twitter and in the Discord. I don't think I've ever brought it up in a video before.
I'll send you this clip so you can post it on your channel.
Yeah. So that's
I don't think I've ever seen anyone use Trifernal. I've literally never seen it in play.
I built 3 decks based around. I built 3 decks based around Trifernal, and I never played it.
Yeah. I've never seen it on the board.
No, me neither. Cool.
I mean, I'm sure the effect is fine, but I don't know.
Moolah played it once
in a card.
Moolah played it once, and it immediately got shielded back to hand.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
That just literally cost her.
Words felt so bad. He was like, I'm so sorry. And Moolah was just like,
Shield bounced if it was only bounced 2 or less.
Shield would be balanced if it targeted, because then.
I've been saying that.
Do you know what Trident does? Do you know what Trident actually stops?
Nothing.
Gorgons.
But you can time Gorgon before Trident anyway. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't outpoison
Gorgons after. Trident stops Gorgons after it's been equipped.
And Tsunami doesn't target, right? It's just
it doesn't target.
Yeah, so it doesn't even stop Tsunami. So yeah, and that's all the counter runes in the game right now.
And you can't play it before poison.
Nope.
Point proven.
Yep.
I mean, you can play it before poison.
It was funny because like whenever Trident got announced, Words was like, "Oh my god, this card is so good! It just stops counter. It just stops from being targeted." And then like I can't remember. It was like a week or 2 later. I said in a video, I was like, "Oh yeah, dude, Trident's so fucking bad." and then Warts was like, "Johnny, we need to have a talk." And I was like, "What does it stop?" He went through all the counter runes and he was like, My life is a lie.
That was good. That was pretty much me testing out my first iteration of the foamy deck. Was Trident's so good, and then someone's like, shield doesn't target. I'm just like, oh well, kind of Trident now. No point in running it.
Scythe is better now.
Yeah. It's so, and it's funny because like the first thing he was hooked on was making the immortal Elestral, was by having Trident, which I finally got everybody to realize the Bag of Winds was a much better Trident, and everybody kept arguing with it. It took like a week to get there to catch on, right? Because Bag of Winds just is capable targeted by runes, not counter runes, not just invoke runes, divine runes. So you can't even Zeus it.
So you just have to play around. What's it? You just have to play around the counter runes. That's it.
Yeah, and I mean like P-Gust, Phallocane. Literally, what I did was I made a Phallocane, equipped it with Bag of Runes, and I was like, "Get it? Yeah, stop it.
Yep.
Have fun." I mean, yeah.
If you do Bag of Winds plus Hammer, and then plus Sonic Core.
I've been sitting on a deck like that. Pretty much, it says you need to be able to have both an Electral Destruction effect in hand and a rune removal for you to deal with the Sonic Core.
I made like 3 Sonic Core videos. I'm done with Sonic Core. All right, my opponent in the last round, or Cox, he had Sonic Core in his hand, and I literally celebrated when he revealed that he got stuck with Sonic Core as his last card in hand, because I was like, this is just more ammo for me to prove to Cyclops that Sonic Core is bad.
Really is like the best worst card.
It is an S tier card that sucks so bad. It is the best S tier card, and I mean like nobody can be mad at me because I'm ranking it right. It is an S tier card. I mean, even Dan said that he thought the Sonic Core was going to be a level 9 power level 9 card. I think it's a power level 10 card. I just think you're never playing it. This game is too fast paced. You're never playing it.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like your opponent. The one way your opponent can respond to it, they can on your turn. I mean you just have free reign to do what you want, but it just isn't good enough yet. In the meta.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, what if you made Tadpuff multi-elemental? But then I'm thinking,
No,
wouldn't that just make the game even faster and not really solve any problems?
that would solve problems in the wrong way.
Yeah, it really would. I think Johnny, you and I have had this discussion before.
Because then just Blazerous OTK actually becomes viable.
I don't think every element should have access to a Tadpuff.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe like set 3 or 4, yeah, but definitely not this.
Oh, let me rephrase it. No, not every deck should have a exact Tadpuff clone.
I will say, Dan is trying to balance 2 costs, 2 and 3 costs.
I feel like that's very important for the game, for those to be balanced.
Yes, for sure.
It's just the hard part is doing it without breaking them. Because he wants you to always feel good regardless of the Elestral you have on board.
It's such a high risk, high reward card that it's so hard to... I was looking at that, I'm like, that's so tough to balance because it's like, for those to be worth it, they can't easily be destroyed by card effects, or else it's just too easy to out them. But if they can't easily be destroyed by card effects, once you fall behind on board, and the only way to, like, is to attack over them, that becomes really hard as well.
Yeah.
Does Yu-Gi-Oh have cards like Earthquake?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to balance these cards because they actually have costs, but it's still kind of difficult. Regardless.
What I was thinking about was making 3 cost, giving them, not them specifically, but like a stadium rune, right? That says your the controller of this card's 3 cost Elestrals cannot be destroyed or targeted by card effects.
That way they need.
That's what I was.
That way they need a rune removal, and then they can target it.
Exactly, it requires a much more counterplay than just simply going Earthquake or Laurels, or Warmite, or, you know.
Yeah,
I mean that was my thought process, was like, not necessarily that kind of specific card, but like pattern, like cards like that, you know, that specifically protect or benefit 2 or 3 costs.
Yeah,
you can't just make, because you can't buff 2 or 3 costs. I mean, like if you like inherently, because I mean, just imagine if Magus, you said it can't be targeted by card effects.
Yeah, then you just get the whole Yu-Gi-Oh problem where you set up your boss monster and your opponent's just like,
here's my towers, out it.
Yeah, and that was actually one of my biggest concerns going into Elestrals was that if the opponent just got ahead with their like 3 Spirit Elestrals, it's so easy just to fall so far behind from them, because how do you keep stuff to stick to Ascend to answer them? You
Oh yeah,
can't.
no, it was really funny to see how everybody's thought process went whenever Elestrals like actually became playable. Because my thought process was, okay, well, I don't want to wait to do stuff, so I'm gonna go one cost. Words was like, okay, well, I don't want to wait to do stuff, so I'm gonna go Majesty Ramp. And then Moxie was like, okay, well, I want to do everything, so here's a 5-color deck that's based around using all the different Nexus effects.
Meanwhile, I actually took like a Vanguard Digimon type approach where I was just like, okay, I need a balance of all 3. That way I can have answers at all 3 stages. Like I literally ran Majesty at first, thinking it was like an Omnimon in Digimon, where it's just nice to have sometimes. But there wasn't enough card draw. It was just mostly a dead card, and really wasn't that great to begin with. It's no Omnimon.
All right, now we really gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, I agree there. So, Jai, do you have any closing remarks, or have you said your piece?
I don't really have anything to say. I guess that's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. I personally had a lot of fun getting some insight from you, and also just kind of discussing Elestrals and the tour in full.
Yep, it was fun.
Any closing remarks, Johnny, before I sign off the video?
Drift best deck, let's go!
He said he wasn't going to do it, but he did it. And I'm leaving it in here because I don't mind.
I have no idea what you said.
Did your speakers peak?
No, I just don't know what you said. I heard something that
I said, drift best deck, let's go!
I still don't understand.
Sorry, I have work in like 30 minutes, so I gotta get the adrenaline pumping.
That is completely fair. All right.
I just spent the entire video fixing my hair, and then I just did that. God damn it!
All right. Well, I hope the audience all enjoyed. Love to get some comments down below about your thoughts on what we discussed. And other than that, look forward to this next Steal the Spirits podcast, and hopefully it will be sooner than like 2-3 weeks at this point.
Yeah, because I mean, I think at the time, like, the last one was Monday 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. But
yeah.
Anywho, personally for my channel though, I would love to hear some comments about stuff you'd like discussion about the game and mechanics, theories and such that you all the viewers would be interested in, because I actually love discussing that stuff. That way get ideas for next Steal the Spirits podcast and maybe some personal videos. But with all that being said, thank you to all the YouTubers, Johnny, Mula, Wirtz, I don't even think I can name them all, everything Elestrals, for letting me join in on this, and thank you, Johnny, for including me on this this episode, and thank you, Jai, for joining us. So, yeah.
All right, thank you for being a part of it, man.